All right, it's official. The massive shift in how we all watch TV isn't on the horizon anymore. It's here. In this explainer, we are going to unpack the numbers behind one of the biggest media takeovers in modern history. And let me tell you, the story these numbers tell is absolutely staggering. Let's dive in. Okay, I want to start with just one number, 47.5%. As of this past December, that was streaming's slice of all TV viewing. Just think about that for a second. For every hour of TV that was watched, almost 30 minutes of it was on a streaming service. But to really truly grasp the scale of this, you need to see the number it's replacing. And there it is, the other side of the story. In that very same month, cable television barely scraped by with just 20.2% of viewership. That's a record low. We're not talking about a gap anymore. This is a full-blown chasm. So, what does this all really mean? It means the debate is over. This isn't some forecast or a trend we're tracking anymore. This is reality. The power has officially shifted, the guard has changed, and the new king of television has been crowned. And that brings us to the real tipping point. Because for the first time in history, streaming didn't just beat cable. It officially flew past the combined viewership of both cable and traditional broadcast television. I mean, think about that. Streaming is now, without a doubt, the main way we watch TV. Now, at the heart of this whole revolution, there are really two key groups. You've probably heard of cord cutters, right? The people who actively called up and canceled their cable service. But now they've been joined by this huge wave of cord nevers, an entire generation that never even bothered to sign up in the first place. So you might be wondering, how on earth did this all happen so fast? It seriously feels like just yesterday, cable was the undisputed champion of the world. Well, let's take a look at the data, because the trajectory of this takeover is pretty wild. Just look at this timeline. A few years ago, back in 2021, cable still had a pretty comfortable lead. Then in 2022, you see streaming just squeak past it. But it's the years after that where the real story unfolds. The lines don't just cross, they fly apart. You can literally see streaming rocketing up while cable goes into a steep and frankly accelerating decline. If you want to see the whole story in one simple picture, this is it. In just 4 years, we've seen a staggering 71% growth in streaming. At the same time, cable viewership has just collapsed by nearly 40%. I mean, one platform is building an empire while the other's foundations are just crumbling away. Okay, get ready for this, because this stat is truly insane. Just 2 platforms, YouTube and Netflix, now have more people watching them than every single channel on cable television combined. Let that sink in. That one fact alone just shows you the sheer unbelievable scale of this new dominance. So what's the single biggest force that's driving this historic shift? It's not the technology, it's not even the content. It really all boils down to one simple thing: age. The data shows this massive generational divide that is permanently reshaping the entire landscape. And I mean, the divide is stark. It's night and day. Check this out. Nearly 2/3 of viewers over 65 still subscribe to cable. But for young adults, folks between 18 and 29, that number just plummets off a cliff to only 16%. And here's the key. This isn't just a preference. It's a fundamental, irreversible transition. As younger people get older, they aren't suddenly signing up for cable. They're taking their streaming habits with them. And here's a fascinating little wrinkle in all this, something I think we can all relate to. For streaming users under 30, nearly half, admit to using a password from someone else. So what that means is streaming's real reach is even bigger than the official subscriber numbers suggest. There's this massive built-in audience ready for the future. Okay, so we've seen the numbers, we've seen the demographics, but what was the actual playbook? What were the core advantages that gave streaming such a decisive knockout victory? It really boils down to 3 simple but incredibly powerful ideas that cable just could never compete with. First, cost and flexibility. No more expensive long-term contracts. Second, on-demand content. That was the end of the TV guide as we knew it. And third, total access. Your shows on your TV, your laptop, your phone, literally anywhere. This playbook was perfectly designed for how we live today. And of course, where the viewers go, the money is sure to follow. This table right here shows exactly why advertisers are fleeing from cable. I mean, for them, it's a no-brainer. Why advertise to a shrinking older audience with really broad targeting? when you can reach a growing, younger audience with pinpoint precision for a tiny fraction of the cost. The business case is just undeniable. All right, so we've covered the past and the present. Now let's turn our attention to the future. With streaming's dominance pretty much set in stone, what happens next? Where do we go from here? Now that streaming is the undisputed leader, what's the next major barrier to fall? What's the next big record we should all be watching for? Well, it's this: crossing the 50% threshold. This is about becoming the official, undeniable majority of all television time. We're not just talking about being the biggest slice of the pie anymore. We're talking about being more than half of the entire pie. And analysts are predicting that historic moment is coming really, really soon. But you know what? We don't even have to rely on predictions, because we've already gotten a few glimpses of this future. Just this past Christmas Day, for example, streaming viewership hit a massive 54% of all TV viewing. In fact, the 50% barrier was broken on 2 separate days last December. This proves it's not a question of if it's going to happen, it's just a matter of when. And so, we'll end on this crucial thought. The war for the living room, it's over. Streaming won. But a new and honestly much more complicated war has just begun. The war for your subscription. The next chapter of television won't be about cable versus streaming. It's going to be about which platforms can win your attention and your wallet in what's becoming a very, very crowded battlefield.